Week 9 was absolutely spectacular, guys. I think Brandon might have had the best weekend of anyone in the country, but the Blue Bloods are here. We're just bringing you one segment today, a little bit shorter episode right now, but we're going to kick it off. We're going to kick it off and wrap it up with the Pick Six recap, in which we recapped the 6 biggest games of the weekend. But this week was huge, guys. We had a lot of games we had to cover. So we covered 7 this week. So it's really a pick 7 today on the Blue Bloods. Listen, I'm bringing nothing but excellent energy after Auburn's domination of the LSU posers, the LSU Tigers, whatever you want to call them. They got destroyed this weekend. We'll get to that at the end of the show, though, guys. It's going to be a ridiculous show. I'm going to probably make Brandon quit the podcast today. So let's go ahead and find out if he quits today. Let's kick it off. Week 9 loaded, man. There was a lot of good games this weekend. Let's not even waste any time, B-Dub. Let's get right into it. We had I guess, okay, so technically it was an upset, but not the point spread upset. We had West Virginia beating number 16 Kansas State 37-10. Brandon, you had faith in Will Howard and the Wildcats. I need you to tell our listeners why that was a mistake.
I mean, it was a mistake because they got dominated. I mean, nothing goes right for Brandon this weekend. Everything's looking gloomy. It's fine. Who cares? I had a nice weekend at home with my family. That's all I can ask for. There's a silver lining to everything, Zach. I'll come back to that later on. But Kansas State just is maybe not the team that they showed us they were against Oklahoma, or since really their first week loss to Arkansas State.
Yeah, they played bad. I mean, West Virginia took care of business. That defense is really good, man. We talked about in the preview episode, that defense is elite. And they shut out the Wildcats in the second half, and they pulled away. The keys to the game for me, man, I said they had to take away Deuce Vaughn and force Will Howard to win the game. They did that. Jared Doji played really good. He looked sharp, got the ball to his playmakers. But Brandon, Will Howard looks like a freshman in the second row start for the Wildcats. Only completed 51% of his passes, 193, a touchdown, 3 interceptions. Brandon, you love QBR. We still don't know how it's calculated. I need to get on that. But he had a 24.3 QBR. That's really bad.
I mean, it doesn't matter if you know how it's calculated or not. I mean, that's just a 24 on anything is bad. Like anything, the ACT, everything.
24 ACT is not terrible. That's the little cool.
No, I mean,
that's okay. But listen, I mean, the Mountaineers were able to pressure Howard. He graded at a 38% by Pro Football Focus under pressure, Brandon. He fell to 50% completion percentage for 24 yards and 2 interceptions when he was under pressure. That was and if anyone who watched this game saw that the Mountaineers, this was a huge key in the game plan, was to make Howard uncomfortable in the pocket. It worked like a charm. And he didn't have any help, Brandon. The rushing attack for the Wildcats, usually electric. I don't know what happened. They must have had a power shortage, something, but they rushed for 41 total yards, 1.8 yards per carry, Brandon.
No, I mean, that's real tough no matter where you are. And their quarterback this weekend, I mean, he was a freshman, right?
Yeah. He's a true freshman.
I mean, you have to take some of the pressure off of him if you're even going to have kind of a shot, and they just couldn't do that.
Oh man, it's really bad, Brandon. I mean, and this won't be the only freshman that didn't get any help from his running game today, but we'll get to that later.
Okay, this is ridiculous.
The longest rush of the day was 10 yards by Harry Trotter, the backup running back for K-State. Deuce Vaughn, 9 carries, 22 yards. Listen, he's a good running back. He's young. He's going to be a key for this K-State team moving forward, but this week was not his week. And Brandon, the Mountaineers defense, man, they played fast, physical, opportunistic football. And, from the first quarter, the kickoff until the clock hit 0 in the fourth quarter, they were the better team, right? I mean, they allowed 225 total yards, only 13 first downs, held K-State to under 50% on third downs, and forced 3 turnovers. They held the Wildcats to 5 yards per completion and 1.8 yards per rush.
Yeah, I mean, you're not going to have a chance if you put up those kind of numbers.
No, and statistically, they're the number 1 defense in the Big 12. And I think
which is crazy, by the way. No, that should not be the case whatsoever. I mean, Dave Aranda is the head coach at a Big 12 school.
Okay, he's been there for like 3 minutes.
I mean, it's been more than 3 minutes. It's been like 7 games now, or should have been 7 games. It's a few got canceled.
Yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying. I think Orlando will have Baylor playing at an elite level soon. Brandon, I mentioned Tony Fields the second as an X factor, said he was the senior leader of this defense, man. He led the team with 15 total tackles this weekend, man. He was all over the field. He was one of the keys to stopping Deuce Vaughn in this running attack. And then you had Sean Mahone, who was just a ball hawk on the back end of the secondary, man. I mean, 7 total tackles, an interception, 2 pass breakups, and had a tackle for loss. Brandon, Neil Brown came from Troy. He was the head coach for Troy when they upset LSU, when they were playing
Well,
really,
and we're
really
still
good.
taking shots. Is that what's happening?
It's shots all episode, my guy. But
Okay,
I
good,
mean,
good.
I mean, you know, I feel like West Virginia, they're playing at a level that really their record doesn't really show that, Brent. I mean, if you look at West Virginia or ask the average fan, would you ever think that they'd have I think it's the top 10 defense in the country?
I mean, if you would asked them in 2020, no. If you'd asked them in 2019, absolutely not. And but you asked them a few seasons ago, I mean, honestly, I could see it. I mean, if you grow up watching college football the time that we did, then yeah, I mean, and you haven't watched the past couple seasons, then sure. But no, if you've seen them play last year or the year before, ever since Dana Holgerson left, then no, absolutely not.
Listen, that might have been their best move ever that Dana Holgerson left them for an AAC team. That might have been the
Yes, so
key moment in their program's history. But I already said it. Jarrett Doji, I mean, had one of his best performances of the season, Brandon. 65% completion percentage, 301 through the air, 2 touchdowns. I mean, he wasn't explosive or perfect, Brandon, but he performed well, when K-State couldn't get to him. I mean, 69% completion percentage, 212 and a
nice.
touchdown when he wasn't pressured. For me, Brandon, I mean, you got to remember our Big 12 preview episode. We had no faith in this kid. We had no faith in West Virginia or anything they brought to the table. I mean, I feel like Neil Brown and this West Virginia team, I mean, I feel like they're one of the, I guess, better stories of the college football season right now for how they've been playing.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I'm pretty sure I had West Virginia like second to last place in the Big 12. And I mean, they've just been proving me wrong week in, week out.
And so this makes it interesting, Brandon. We'll get to another game later in which, there was a big upset with Oklahoma State. West Virginia is right in the middle of this race. Do you see an opportunity for them to get in the Big 12 championship?
Yeah, because Oklahoma State disappointed everybody. We'll get to that. But yeah, yep, absolutely. I mean, they're still in it.
Oh man, what a game. But listen, guys, K-State moves on to host number 6 Oklahoma State. More on them later. And this is funny, Brandon. West Virginia heads to Austin to take on the Texas Longhorns. So we're just training opponents next weekend. Both games will probably be in the Pick 6. So looking forward to those games. But let's move on. Let's stay in Big 12 country, kinda down in College Station. We had Arkansas traveling to number 8 A&M. Texas A&M pulls out the 42-31 win over Arkansas. Brandon, takeaways from this game, and I feel like this is one of the games, Brandon, where we could say the loser of this game really played well.
I mean, Arkansas has really come out, and I don't want to make this about Arkansas, but it's going to be. They look good this year, don't they? I mean, they've surprised a lot of people, and I'm one of the people that's most surprised because Arkansas, who would have thought? A first-year head coach, Felipe Franks takes the reins at quarterback. I mean, I dogged him all last year.
He's played excellent.
Go back and listen to any episode from last season, and I mean, we hated this kid basically. But dude, I mean, they look really good. I mean, they're going to compete. They're going to beat LSU. I mean, let's go ahead and say that they're going to beat LSU this season.
Hey, at least pay the refs, dude. I'll get the Auburn guy to give you his number. Pay the refs. Y'all will escape Arkansas just like Auburn did.
Oh, okay. I'll get with you after the episode.
But I mean, listen, Arkansas and A&M both played well, Brandon. But I think it was clear after 60 minutes which team was the most talented. For me, this game is a story of A&M finally hitting its stride. More on that in a second, but also Arkansas failing to convert on their opportunities, unlike A&M. Every time A&M was in the red zone, Brandon, or had a drive, just about they turned all their scoring drives into touchdowns. Arkansas, they missed 2 field goals. They turned it over on downs on another one. And if you add that up, guys, this game's going into overtime, or Arkansas's winning it if they convert on those opportunities. That was the biggest difference for me. And Brandon, listen, Kellen Mond, this is the Kellen Mond that I have been waiting to see since he came out of high school. This is the Kellen Mond that A&M thought they were getting. He put up, I think, his best performance of his career last night, Brandon. 81% completion percentage, 260 through the air, 3 touchdowns, 32 yards rushing, and no turnovers. That's what I want to see.
And that no turnovers is key. I mean, that's something that he struggled with at least all last season, and something he struggled with kind of toward the beginning of this season. So to see that, I mean, Texas A&M fans have to be happy. I mean, this was the year. This was the year they were going to make a run at the SEC championship, a run at the college football playoff. I mean, they probably wouldn't have won a championship. You know, they wouldn't win the Natty. It's just not in Texas A&M's culture. But no, I mean, this was the year, right? And so Kellen Mond's finally coming out of his shell, which he should have come out of a long time ago. But, I mean, he's being way more consistent. And now that I said that, he's probably going to play terribly next week.
Probably. I mean, I don't know. They don't have a very tough matchup next week. They head to South Carolina, Brandon. But Kellen Mond, man, I mean, my biggest critique, especially in the Alabama game, was his accuracy downfield, Brandon. Last night, 20-plus yards down the field, he was 3 for 3, 100 yards and a touchdown.
Right.
He always struggles in this area in their biggest games, which has cost them so many big games they could have won in his career. And under pressure, Brandon, Mond was one of the highest graded quarterbacks of the weekend at a 94 grade by Pro Football Focus under pressure. He was 86% completion percentage, 70 yards and 2 touchdowns when Arkansas got to him, which doesn't even make sense.
No. I mean, why would it?
And, you know, Brandon, as much as this offense predicates on Kellen Mond performing at his highest level, the running game stepped up in these past 2 games for A&M. I mean, Isaiah Spiller, 82 yards and a touchdown, another decent performance. He's got to pick it up on his averages, though, man. 3.8 yards a rush is not going to cut it against elite defenses that are coming later in their schedule. But the Aggies also combined for over 180 yards rushing, 3 touchdowns. And with this offense, Brandon, a consistent run game puts this offense into a different level for me. If Kellen Mond's clicking and his running game's clicking, A&M is one of the best teams in the SEC, and they're living up to that top 10 hype when everything's clicking like this.
I mean, you're absolutely right. You know, and we see them lose. They only have the one loss to Alabama on the season.
On the road too.
That's what I'm saying. It's a tough loss, but it's against Alabama. It's that SEC team that's probably heads and shoulders above any other team in the SEC right now.
Yes.
So yeah, I mean, if you get beat that badly by anyone, good thing it's Alabama. This Texas A&M team might be the real deal this season.
I think so, man. And listen, the Razorbacks, like I said, played a good game. Failed on a few opportunities. Felipe Franks, outstanding game. 73% completion percentage, 233 touchdowns, Brandon. But he failed to consistently push the ball deep on the Aggies defense that has been suspect at best. I mean, Florida and Alabama ate deep down the field against this defense. They only had 1 pass, Brandon, over 20-plus yards, and he completed it for 40 yards.
Right.
So
good.
Why in the world wasn't that in the game plan? I don't think he had a lot of time to throw, to be honest with you, Brandon. I think Felipe Franks is the quarterback that I think I've been most impressed with in the SEC right now. We knew what we were getting with Mac Jones. We knew what we were getting with Kyle Trask. Kellen Mond is doing exactly what we said he was going to do. Inconsistent, but his when he's on, he's on. But no one saw this from Felipe Franks. I mean, he should have beaten Auburn. He's played well in just about every single game outside of the second half of Georgia.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm so impressed with this kid, man. I take back anything bad I said about him. And Rakeem Boyd, back from injury. He missed a lot of time. He delivered last night, Brandon, over 100 yards rushing, a touchdown. He was averaging over 5.5 yards per carry. And this was a kid that I think people keep forgetting how good he is. They saw him on Last Chance U. And I feel like he just gets overlooked. Man, I mean, this was arguably one of the best running backs in the SEC last season, and he's finally showing everyone what he can do when he's healthy.
Yeah, no, I mean, I know that you and I thought this kid was going to be special. I'm not going to say we thought he was going to do what he's been doing in the SEC, but I mean, yeah, he's definitely overlooked, and he's definitely, I mean, is this his senior season?
Yeah, I believe so. Because he almost went to the draft, and I think he came back. So he technically could come back next year, I think, because of COVID, but I'm not sure if he will or not. But with these injuries, you never know.
Yeah, that's true. I
Man.
mean, he's going to be something special, whether he comes back to Arkansas or whether he clears from the draft. I mean, some team's going to be lucky.
Oh man. So Arkansas sadly falls to 2-3. They move on to host a Tennessee team that needs a rebound win. So that one's going to be kind of like a deciding game on where some of these SEC teams start to fall in the pecking order. Well, I've already kind of mentioned it. A&M moves to 4-1, travels to South Carolina to face the Gamecocks next, Brandon. But let's get to one of the games I got wrong this weekend, Brandon. I only missed two, but number 17, Indiana, traveling to Rutgers, pulls off the 37-21 win. And I was wrong here. The bandwagon was briefly halted, but we're going to be back, Brandon. And I want to say this, Brandon, I would need your opinion, but Indiana is becoming an extremely interesting contender in the Big Ten.
I mean, sure. I'm not going to put too much weight on this win. And I get it. I know what you're going to say. Well, they beat this Rutgers team that beat Michigan State. Michigan State beat Michigan. That means nothing to me, Zach. It means nothing to me. That was a rivalry game. Doesn't count. It's still Rutgers. They're still bad. Indiana pulled out the win. They covered the spread. That's what made me mad because I had Rutgers in my picks. If you can recall, I just had a bad weekend overall, guys. But yeah, I don't agree. I don't think Indiana's a real contender in the Big Ten.
Oh man, I don't know, man. I'm upset about this loss. So Michael Penix Jr., man, absolutely spectacular in this game. The main reason the Hoosiers pulled off this big win, Brandon, 65% completion percentage, 238 through the air, 3 touchdowns, while also rushing for another touchdown. I think he was the second or third highest graded quarterback of the weekend by Pro Football Focus with a 92 grade this weekend, Brandon.
No, I mean, he's super impressive. Look, I'm not taking anything away from this kid. I don't think the culture at Indiana's right. I don't know if they can win when it matters.
I mean, we'll see. I mean, they had 350 total offense, 37 points, 20 first downs, averaged almost 10 yards per pass. And I think Penix Jr. is going to be a problem for most defenses outside of Ohio State in the Big Ten. I think they have a chance, Brandon. And with Rutgers, they did not force a turnover this weekend, Brandon, after forcing 7 last week. But they caught their own turnover bug. They had 3 of their own. Noah Vedrell, as the quarterback, 61% of his passes were completed this weekend, 152, 2 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Brandon, you'll love this. A QBR of 9.
I mean, that's fantastic. Well, that ACT score sucks. How can you say that?
Can you make a 9? I think that's the lowest you can make, right?
I thought it was like a 12. Maybe it is 9.
Oh, a 12. That's even worse. Like, you can't even make this low in the ACT. I don't think it's possible to win a game in the Power 5 with a QBR of 9. That's really, really bad. And he got no help on the ground like he did last weekend, Brandon. I mean, 3.7 yards per rush by the Scarlet Knights. The leading rusher was Kayron Adams with 5 carries where he averaged 12 yards per carry, but most of it came on a 37-yard touchdown. Real bad. I mean, you can't have your quarterback, Noah Vedrell, who's not really a dual threat guy, carry the ball 14 times and beat a ranked Big Ten team.
No, absolutely not. And Zach, I guess my biggest takeaway from this game is that the Schiano magic has already worn off game 2 at Rutgers.
I'm upset about it. Well, you saw that, like, I don't even know what to call it. It was what, like
he got called back,
like a 7 lateral play. I know it got called back, but I mean, the fact that there is a Power 5 defense out there that would allow that to score blows my mind. They drew that in the dirt.
Yeah. Well, one of the linemen straight up took both hands over his head, way behind him. I mean, he threw that ball 90 yards in the air. It was impressive. He didn't know where it was going, but he knew that someone was going to get it.
Hey, he believed, man. He had the faith in wherever he was going to throw that. Yeah. It's all about the faith, guys. But the Indiana defense, man, that is my biggest takeaway of this game, Brandon, that this defense looks really good. They've had two pretty big weeks, man. They've made enough plays to be 2-0. Brandon, they racked up 4 sacks, 8 tackles for loss, 6 pass breakups, and 3 quarterback hurries. They held Rutgers to 21% on third downs, 0 for 4 on fourth downs, 247 total yards, less than 4 yards per pass, and less than 4 yards per rush, and forced 3 turnovers.
As they should, like I said, Rutgers strikes again.
Listen, my player of the game, man, Taiwan Mullen. And in case you guys that you're like, man, that name sounds familiar. How in the hell do I know Indiana's DB Taiwan Mullen? It was because I picked him as one of the best returning Big Ten players in the preseason. And I wrote all about him, man. This kid was one of the best freshmen in the country last year. Brandon, at DB, 6 total tackles, 2.5 sacks, and 2.5 tackles for loss from the cornerback spot.
Zach, look, I can't help but feel like as we keep going on with this episode that this was just like a giant ego boost for you. Like you're having a field day.
Yeah, it is, man. Hey, I tagged you, I don't know how many times on Twitter with those, dancing pose with the booms.
With the same post. You said it like 6 times.
Here we go, bro. I'm bringing that energy, man. You're going to understand that people got to start listening to me. Take me seriously. Brandon went 0-3 on his gambling picks. He went 4-3 on pick 6.
You didn't have to say that.
I mean,
no, the gambling picks thing was so mean. That was the meanest thing you could have said.
I'm just saying, man, you're becoming mush.
I've been a mush.
Listen, guys, man, Rutgers drops to 1-1. Brandon, I don't know. The bandwagon's going to be parked for a while. It's getting serviced. They travel to Columbus to face number 3 Ohio State next weekend. While Indiana, Brandon, we're going to find out if they're real or not. They host number 23 Michigan, looking to rebound from a tough loss to Michigan State, like you highlighted. So we're going to find out if they're real or not. And Brandon, I know everyone tuned in this episode saying, man, I can't wait to hear what Zach says to Brandon about the Auburn game, man. This is going to be so much fun. This game might be more fun. I know we both got this game right, but I got some. I'm here to collect on some debts from Brandon.
Okay.
Memphis, traveling to number 7 Cincinnati, gets slaughtered, decimated, blown out, spanked, whatever you want to say, man. 49-10, the Bearcats just decimated the Tigers. This was the second most important game I was looking forward to cover because I've been waiting for you, B-Dub. Since this game hit 0 in the fourth quarter, I've been waiting to see you. I'm here to collect, and I need you to put some damn respect on my Bearcats right now.
Yeah, it was a real bad weekend for Tigers that are close to the Mississippi River. So I don't know what to say. I don't know.
I need to hear you say it. I need to hear you say the Bearcats are legit and their defense is elite.
No, the Bearcats, they're legit for a Power 6 team.
Jesus Christ!
I'm not gonna put them on the same level as. Would you put them in your playoff right now? If you had to make your playoff, would you put them in there right now?
Right now, I did my top 10 today. That's going to be dropped tomorrow. That I sent you. I think I have them 5th right now.
Give the people a sneak peek. 5th? Yeah, so that's not a playoff team, huh?
Well, I mean, right now, they'll be in my top 4 next week because Clemson and Notre Dame play. One of them's dropping out.
Oh my! Does Cincy play next week?
Yeah.
You can't assume a win, man. You can't do it. And if I pick Cincinnati, I'm gonna choose them. I'm gonna choose them to cover the spread. And then you're done for.
Oh God, they're playing Houston next week.
Yeah, you're done for. You are done for, Zach.
But listen, they just can you say this defense is elite? That's all I need to hear. We've been on this for 3 weeks. They've held SMU to what, 10 points? They held Memphis to 10 points. What else could they possibly do?
I don't know. I mean, like I said in the last episode, I mean, play. They ain't played nobody, Zach. I mean, what are you gonna say?
Okay, right. We've had this conversation. If Cincinnati and Michigan played next weekend, who are you picking in that game?
Well, I mean, if we get the same Michigan team that
So
came
fair
out
enough.
and laid an egg against Michigan State, then yeah, I'm going with Cincy.
The way Big Ten teams have played this year, Brandon, right now I think Cincinnati would be the second best team in the Big Ten.
Whoa, easy there. Okay, would they be the second best if Wisconsin was healthy?
We've only seen Wisconsin play Illinois, Brandon, and Cincy would beat Illinois more than 49-10.
Not true.
Not true. Memphis would murder Illinois, and Memphis just got smacked. LSU would beat Illinois, and LSU just got smacked.
Thank you, Zach. You said something nice about LSU. Good.
Okay, would LSU beat Cincinnati? Probably not. Desmond Ridder would have 9 million yards on that LSU defense.
Yeah. Okay. just Zach's been beating a dead horse since yesterday. Yeah, so I'm dead, Zach. I'm a horse. I'm dead.
Hey, we should post a group chat on the Blue Blood social media. That way you guys can sympathize with Brandon.
You know what? You should, because I'm getting the police involved. This is cyberbullying.
Oh God! Listen, Desmond, you forgot about me. B-Dub Ridder keep showing the doubters like B-Dub that they need a better football education because this dude needs his respect. 81% completion percentage, and last week and the week before.
Zach, he plays the same way that Kellen Mond plays. He's the most inconsistent quarterback.
Beat up. 81% completion percentage, 271, 3 touchdowns and a pick.
Yeah, against a very stout Memphis defense. Very good.
10 plus yards down the field between the numbers, Brandon. 100% completion percentage, 129 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Okay, I'm going to stop right now because I don't know if I could do that if it were just me and a receiver on the field.
And that receiver was Randy Moss. Like, is still not sure if we could get that done. And Brandon, just to make it worse, when Memphis blitzed Ridder, he played even better. 100% completion percentage when blitzed, 156 and 2 touchdowns. He averaged 20 yards per pass against the blitz.
I mean, and I'm sure that just broke Memphis's brain because it just broke my brain. I don't know what you do. Like you're like, let's blitz him. Maybe that'll help. And then it just makes him better. That's like a superpower. That's like Mario eating a mushroom when you blitz him. He turns into a superhuman.
Okay, I want to understand this. Pro Football Focus. I love you. I use your stats on here all the time. Everyone knows this. This dude is completing 100% of his passes for over 150 and 2 touchdowns, and you gave him a 90?
Yeah.
What does he have to do to give me a 95? Bro, you didn't even give him an A+. You gave him, you barely passed the class, had to round that 89.9 up to a 90.
That's not even an A everywhere, dude. That's like
that's what I'm saying.
That's like a B+.
Dude, at Harvard, they might kick you out for that.
He said, "Oh man, I don't know." Well, not Harvard football. Harvard football, you can.
That's true.
You can get between a 65 and a 100, and that's an A.
That's fair enough, man. And Ridder, Brandon, more spectacular stuff on the ground, man. Another 2 touchdowns on the ground, 41 yards. So this dude had 5 total touchdowns this weekend, Brandon.
Yeah.
Over 300 yards in total offense. I mean, Brandon, I know Shane Buechele's been good. I know Brady White's been good. I know your guy Dylan Gabriel down there in Orlando's really good. Desmond Ridder right now is the best quarterback in the AAC.
I mean, I'm going to agree with you. I think he's the best overall quarterback, yes. He's not the best. I mean,
he might not be the best pure pocket. I don't think he's the best pure pocket passer, but if we're taking overall game together, I feel like he's taken that number 1 spot.
Right.
Brandon, the rushing game finally came to be. Remember that old name, Brandon, that I brought up in the preseason of why I picked Cincinnati to be so good, and Jerome Ford, who came from Alabama, a former 5-star?
Right.
He finally showed up, Brandon. 9 carries, 116, 2 touchdowns, and averaged 13 yards per carry.
Yeah.
Thanks for showing up. Yeah, we've been playing without you, Jerome. Like, I'm glad you decided to come to the party. I mean, he's the most explosive running back on this roster, Brandon, and he's finally finding his role in the offense. And Jared Dokes, He's consistent. He's the workhorse role on this offense. 18 carries, 77 rushing yards. He didn't find the end zone, but don't let that fool you guys. Desmond Ridder and Ford were cooking this weekend. Jared Dokes did what he needed to do. The Bearcats put up 250 yards rushing and 4 touchdowns, Brandon. And when this team can run the ball and Desmond Ridder is on his game, I don't think this team can be beaten, especially by an AAC team.
No, I mean, they looked unstoppable this weekend against a very good Memphis team. Not very good. Against a good Memphis team. They looked unstoppable last week against a really, really good SMU team. So, yeah.
Hey, I think they still have UCF on their schedule too. If they hold UCF to 10 points, will you put some respect on this defense?
If they can do that, then yes, they are elite.
Okay. Memphis, on the other hand, Brandon, we had to cover them. I think they played their worst game that I've seen a Memphis team play in 2 years.
But yeah, I mean, it's because last year Memphis was incredible. I mean, they were last year we were talking about Memphis the same way that we're talking about Cincinnati right now. They were very good. I mean, we were on the Memphis hype train. We were the conductors of that train, Zach.
That's true. I'll give you that. I mean, but this weekend, Brandon, the offense couldn't produce points. The running game was non-existent. The defense was slow. They were undisciplined. They gave up big play after big play. I mean, Brady White played decent, Brandon, but he failed to push the ball deep down the field. 0 for 4 on passes 20-plus yards down the field, Brandon. Completed 0 passes under pressure, Brandon. He graded out at a 26 under pressure by Pro Football Focus.
Right. That's real tough, real bad.
He's like the complete opposite of what Desmond Ridder did this weekend. And this cannot fall all on White, Brandon. The running game might have been the worst in the whole country. 29 carries, Brandon, for 5 yards.
Yeah.
That's an outstanding 0.2 yards per carry.
Incredible. I mean, how do you top that?
The longest rush was 2 rushes, 6 yards, Brandon, by Colin Watkins and Brady White scrambling for pressure.
Brady White was he was tired of getting hit, so he had to rush. He had to scramble at some point.
Exactly. I mean, this Memphis O-line, Brandon, 6 sacks, 10 tackles for loss given up.
Right. I mean, you got to do something.
It's bad. And Brandon, you said this defense wasn't elite. Their best DB, cornerback Ahmad Gardner, who we've mentioned on this podcast, left the game with injury. So they had backups in the back end. And they still did this to Memphis.
So they're deep. Okay, I'll admit that. They're deep.
And listen, Luke Fickell, I don't think he's given enough credit for what he's done in Cincinnati.
Absolutely not. He is an incredible coach, and he's not going to be at Cincinnati for too much longer, Zach.
No. And listen, if Ryan Day wasn't at Ohio State, Luke Fickell could be. Luke Fickell at Ohio State, I think would be better than Day.
Can I start a rumor real quick? Can I start saying that?
Hit it up.
Let's go with Luke Fickell to Michigan. How about that?
Ooh, I like that. I don't know, man. Right. The way PJ Fleck keeps, choking away this 2020 season, I don't know if he's gonna be at Minnesota much longer.
Yeah, fair.
You let Talia
Minnesota.
Yeah. Listen, I'm just gonna say this. I think there's gonna be. I'm trying to think. I want to say. I think there could be some openings in the SEC, aka South Carolina. That would be real interesting.
That could be fun. I don't know, man. Luke Fickell strikes me as a Midwest guy, as a Big Ten football guy. I mean, he might. He came from Ohio State. I mean, and honestly, a lot of people thought that he was going to get that Ohio State job, and Ryan Day scored it. So I don't know. I mean, he left. He ended up going to Cincinnati, and here's where we're at. So it would shock me if he went to Michigan, but I feel like it's more likely for him to take that Michigan job than it would be for an SEC job.
Oh man, I don't know.
Maybe Luke Fickell to Nebraska. I can see Nebraska.
That would be a good hire. I like that hire. Sign me up for that. Listen, I like Luke Fickell, and if he gets Cincinnati to the playoffs, which with the Big 12 probably getting rid of their playoff hopes, which we're going to get to in the next segment, Cincinnati has a real Brandon. What happens if the opt-outs destroy Oregon and USC doesn't live up to the hype? So there's no Pac-12 team, and there's no Big 12 team in the playoffs. And right now, Brandon, they're not going to put Georgia in to just get destroyed by Alabama a second time. And the way Florida's been playing, Georgia's going to beat Florida and get destroyed by Alabama again.
Well, Florida just can't stop catching COVID, and they can't stop throwing punches, and that's their issue.
That's true. And then Dan Mullen comes out of the locker room and fires up the crowd like it's Monday Night Raw.
Yeah. And I already hate Florida. Just as an LSU fan, I hate Florida. I can't stand Florida now. That was embarrassing.
Did you see he came dressed as Darth Vader to the press conference after the game?
Oh my God. No, I didn't.
Yes, he came in a full Darth Vader suit, everything, and was like, at least I'm wearing a mask.
Oh, okay. So
it's not, in case you guys don't know what we're talking about, Missouri and Florida got into a brawl going into halftime because Dan Mullen tried to attack the ref just about and met them at like midfield, and the teams both met out there, and there were punches, kicks, everything thrown. And then Dan Mullen goes to the locker room and comes out and is firing up the crowd like John Cena. He was Ric Flairing out there, but Brandon,
it was tough, man. It was a bad scene.
Yeah, let's wrap up the Cincinnati game, man. I need you to apologize to Mr. Ritter, the Bearcats, the AAC for your constant disrespect on this podcast. And I guess the final question before we move on, Brandon, where do you have them in your top 10?
Zach, that's why you gotta do that to me. Okay, so let's spell it out for the people. Number 1 and number 2, I've got Alabama and Clemson. Wherever I don't care, put whoever you want to at 1, put whoever you want to at 2. That's where they're at. Number 3, I guess Ohio State. I don't know, maybe. Number 4, Notre Dame. I can see 5, Cincinnati, especially since Oklahoma State lost. Somewhere around there. They're right. They're hanging out around. They're between 5 and 7. I'll say that.
Okay, I have them at 5. You have them around there. BYU made a big jump today, Brandon, into the top 10. So we have 2 non-Power 5 teams in the top 10 right now, which is outrageous. But guys, Bearcats, they move to 5-0. They face Houston next week, while Memphis falls to 3-2 and hosts a USF team looking to rebound from a terrible start to the season. They made our pick 6 because of Notre Dame. They got beat 42-0. They won't be making another appearance anytime soon. But the upset of the weekend, Brandon, I don't feel like that's any debate here. Texas at number 6, Oklahoma State. Texas, then, I got a text during this game, Brandon, and it said, Texas is the overtime kings. And that was the text I got when they were at the coin flip, and I was like, they're going to lose because of this text. So appreciate that. And they absolutely did. Sam Ehlinger delivered. Brandon, how did Texas pull off the 41-34 upset of Oklahoma State?
I don't really know, man. And we both had Oklahoma State in this one. We both had Oklahoma State winning the Big 12, which is still a possibility.
Somehow,
I think that they're still I think they're still in first place in the Big 12.
They are. They're tied with K-State, who both lost this weekend.
Yeah, so that's fun. And I guess they really should be first because they only have 1 loss overall. K-State has 2. I mean, they both only have 1 Big 12 loss, but whatever. I don't know. Oklahoma State hasn't really done a whole lot of convincing me that they deserve a playoff spot. And they convince you of that, Zach? Because, I mean, throughout the season, have they had a really definitive we deserve to be top 5 team?
No.
Have they had one of those wins?
No, that's why they don't have a top 10 team right now. Because they haven't proved that. Then the Big 12's chaos this year, man. Their playoff hopes are probably gone, Brandon. I don't know, because if they also have to play, the thing that's going to screw them up is that they got rid of divisions. And so the 2 best teams are going to play. And if the higher ranked team loses, they're going to be screwed. Because Oklahoma's lost to K-State. They're up there. Oklahoma's beat Texas. Texas beats Oklahoma State. What happens if Oklahoma State beats Oklahoma and then K-State beats Oklahoma State and then Texas beats K-State and then it's just going to be chaos. And then what happens when West Virginia starts to click like they've been? They'll beat Texas.
Right.
It's like we honestly could have a three-loss team win this conference.
Look, and this is kind of the Big 12 is kind of turning into what the Pac-12 was last year, where they're just like they are disintegrating like from the inside out. I mean, they're destroying themselves, and they're just gonna have no chance.
It's the same thing the Pac-12 does year in and year out, is they just cannibalize themselves. Like, why did Arizona State have to go beat Oregon on a Thursday night, and then Oregon turn around and beat Utah, who's 5th in the country?
Right.
I mean, and Brandon, if I would have told you this on Thursday when we dropped our last episode, that Sam Ehlinger would have 169 yards passing and 3 touchdowns, but Spencer Sanders would have 400 yards passing and 4 touchdowns, how in the world would you have picked Texas to win this game?
I wouldn't have. I absolutely wouldn't have. I mean, Spencer Sanders played out of his mind, which is
Tylan
crazy.
Wallace equals grown, you-know-what man. That dude bullies people. He should be in jail for what he did to some of these Texas TVs. I mean, there's a great account, guys. Go follow on Twitter, Land Grant on Twitter, man. They do all things Big 12 football. They were like, how come Texas keeps, getting pass interferences on Tylan Wallace? And I'm like, because he's too big and physical for him. The only way you can stop this kid is to just grab him and hope he doesn't catch it over on your head. Like,
well, it's crazy because not only is he big and physical, he's also quick. Like, you don't really get that. You kind of get one or the other with wide receivers, and he's both.
Oh, I think he's the top 4 wide receiver in the country. I know Alabama's got a few. I know LSU's got one. There's some good wide receivers out there, but Tylan Wallace is that guy. And Brandon, I'm putting this also on the back of Chuba Hubbard. I know I sound like, what? 2.9 yards per rush on 25 carries for 72 yards, no touchdowns. His longest rush was 9 yards.
Why do you keep giving him the ball?
Because it's Chuba Hubbard. Because it's Chuba Hubbard against Texas, who's been allowing rushing just out. Like, they've been allowing rush yards at an outrageous pace. And all of a sudden,
LD Brown.
Yeah, LD Brown got 8 carries for 33 yards and only averaged 4 yards a carry.
4 yards? Only 4 yards? Come on, Zach.
That's fair enough. But, I mean, really and truly, man, the star of this game, Brandon, was Joseph Asai for Texas. The linebacker / edge guy, 12 total tackles, 3 sacks, Brandon, and 6 tackles for loss just by himself.
Right.
That guy,
insane.
Listen, this was the best solo defensive performance in the Big 12 this year.
Yeah, I agree.
It was that good, guys. And, with Texas shutting down the run, Oklahoma State is not going to win when Spencer Sanders has to throw the ball 40 times.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen. And for him to only go 4 touchdowns and only 1 interception, he had one of his best games of the year, but you cannot put the game all on his hands. It's a bad look. And, Texas, on the other hand, they really didn't run the ball very well. Their leading rusher has 60 yards. It was Bijan Robinson. Glad to see him show up. But Brandon, Oklahoma State lost. And listen to some of these stats, man. Oklahoma State had 35 first downs to Texas's 18.
Right.
That's how in the hell do you lose a game like that? Then they held Texas to 2 for 15 on third downs.
I don't know. The more I'm hearing the stats, I am befuddled.
Oh, it gets worse, Brandon. Oklahoma State outgained Texas 530 to 287.
Doesn't make no sense.
And Texas had 13 penalties for 150 yards.
Man, that is so. What happened, Zach? I mean, I didn't get a chance to catch this game.
Yeah, 5 turnovers for Oklahoma State to Texas's 0.
There we go. That's it. That'll do it.
I mean,
awful.
They handed them the game, man. And Listen, I was talking to Land Grant during the game. I went back at him on Twitter, and he was just like, Oklahoma State is handing Texas the game. I mean, just straight handing him the game. Um, and I really don't know, Brandon. Oklahoma State, the better team, really and truly. I mean,
Yeah.
they had a fumble in the first quarter, Brandon. They had an interception when it was tied when they were dropping down the field. Then they get another fumble in the second quarter as they're in Texas territory with a 24-17 lead. So that could have put the game in an awkward situation. Then they're leading 31-26 and fumble inside Texas's 30. And then they have the turnover on downs and overtime. I mean, they played their most inconsistent, worst game of the year. And I really don't know what to say. I mean, Brandon, Texas should not have won this game. The defenses for both teams stepped up. It's just Texas found a way not to make as many mistakes as Oklahoma State did. And we haven't seen this turnover bug hit Oklahoma State like this. And for the defense not to force any turnovers.
It's so hard to say that they.
I don't know, man.
Yeah, it's so tough to say, especially when this Texas team's giving up 150 yards to penalties, and I mean, they still win the game.
Yeah, and you outgain them by just, I mean, so I believe. Hang on, I gotta find it. It was like there was a point in the game where Texas had like a 95.6% chance to win. And Oklahoma State led a game-tying drive in the fourth quarter, Brandon, where they look like the best team in the country, man. 11 plays, 88 yards in a minute.
Wow. Okay.
To tie the game, to get back in the game. And I'm just like, you do all that, and then in overtime, you just have a busted coverage, and you can't give me anything else. I mean, for me, this is the kind of stuff that makes Mike Gundy – it keeps him out of that elite category of head coaches because he can get the talent. He can win games he's supposed to. He can get Oklahoma State and his programs in the right position, but he always seems to have a failure somewhere along the line that keeps him out of the big dance.
Right.
This really broke my heart, man. I really, really thought this game was going to go differently, Brandon. So Oklahoma State, man, they give this one up. I mean, so do you think there's any way if Oklahoma State wins out, do you think they can get back in?
Yeah, I mean, they have a shot. I mean, if they win out and then they win the Big 12 championship, depending on what that really means, then yeah, I mean, they have a shot. A one-loss team, sure.
They fell all the way to 14th in the rankings.
That's a tough fall. I'll say that, and that's probably because they, like we said earlier, they haven't really had anything to convince us that they should be top 10 to this point.
Yeah. They're one spot ahead of Coastal Carolina, 2 spots ahead of Marshall.
Well, when you say it like that, it sounds really bad.
Coastal Carolina playoff team, Brandon?
That maybe. We'll see.
I don't know, man. But, guys, next week, Oklahoma State heads to K-State in a big matchup for the Big 12 championship race, while Texas hosts West Virginia in a just as big Big 12. If I feel like any team that's not playing Kansas is in a big game for the Big 12 at this point. Yeah, so we're going to move on here. I don't know what to say about this game, Brandon, but Ohio State pulls off the 38-25 win over Penn State. And, I feel like Penn State can't really hang their head, Brandon, but, I mean, this team's a lot better than their 0-2 record might suggest.
Yeah, and it's weird to see a team like Penn State be 0-2 at this point in the season. I mean, I can't recall the last time that Penn State was 0-2. And so it's weird. They lost that game. That was obviously a little bit of a controversial ending against Indiana with the 2-point conversion in overtime. And then they play a game that's a lot closer than a lot of people thought it was going to be against Ohio State. I mean, Ohio State's up there with Alabama and Clemson. And to play them, but within 2 touchdowns, I mean, what can you say about that? I mean, there's not a whole lot of bad things you can say.
No, I mean not really. And I mean their loss to Indiana, like I know it's shrouded in controversy, but Penn State outplayed Indiana that entire game.
They
And
did.
I think they were the better team. But, you look at Justin Fields in this game, and, 318 yards passing, 4 touchdowns. I don't think you can ask for a better game. I mean, he had a 97.2 QBR, Brandon.
Right.
Just outstanding. Master Teague, the third, dominated, man, 110 yards rushing. Trey Sermon, 56 yards rushing. You look at someone like Chris Olave, man, 7 catches, 122 touchdowns. Garrett Wilson was a little bit quieter. Well, not really quieter in terms of touchdowns he was, but he had 11 catches, 111 yards. He had 62 yards rushing on a trick play. I mean, Brandon, when you're facing this Ohio State team, who do you aim to stop? They have so many weapons that if you stop 2 or 3 of them, they just got someone else they can turn to.
Right. It's even if like you want to target one of the running backs, well, they have another one that's almost as good. So good luck. Good luck targeting any one part of this offense.
I mean, it's bad, man. And with Trey Sermon, Master T, Justin Fields, Chris Olave, Garrett Wilson, I mean, that you can't stop them. The defense played really, really well. I mean, they had what? It was 5 sacks, 7 tackles for loss, 2 pass breakups. I mean, they had an interception by Marcus Hooker. This team is just, for right now, Brandon, this looks like the deepest Ohio State team since that 2015 team that won the Natty. That's the level we're on right now, and they look really, really good. And when you look at, Penn State, I think the thing that separates this Penn State team from the one that competed last year is that run game. Journey Brown's out. Noah Cain's out indefinitely right now. So you have Devin Ford, he's doing his best, 36 yards rushing, 4.5 yards per carry. But Sean Clifford had 18 carries, Brandon, for 5 yards. You're not going to beat a team like Ohio State when Sean Clifford has 18 carries.
No, you're not. And I have to believe that probably takes into account sacks.
Yeah. For me, Brandon, I feel like this Penn State team, this is a team that get a lot of experience for your younger guys that have to play due to certain things, reload for next year. I just think this team was one of the harder hit teams for COVID, in my opinion, Brandon. I think with Sean Clifford being what Sean Clifford is, he needed some help. You lost both your starting running backs. You lost your best wide receiver to the draft. Your defense lost its best player. I mean, I feel like James Franklin kind of had his work cut out for him this year, and that this Penn State team is really good. I think they might have been a top 10 team in the country if they were healthy and everyone came back. But right now, man, I mean, this team's going to be a middle of the road team right now. And I really think James Franklin is going to have to reevaluate in the offseason.
He is. And and I don't want to stick up for Penn State because I feel like I'm a noted Penn State hater on this podcast. And so I don't want to do that right now. I don't want to turn the tides at this point. They lost people to COVID, but so did every team. So yeah, I mean, they lost, but they might have lost the best player in the country. So yeah, who knows?
Yeah, honestly, they probably did. But I mean, there's really not much to say about this game. I think Ohio State did exactly what we expected them to do. Ryan Day has them on a trajectory to be really successful. They stay undefeated. They move on to face Rutgers next week. I don't know how that one's going to go. Probably not well for Rutgers. But then Penn State moves on to face Maryland, who shockingly got a win this weekend over Minnesota on the last-minute missed field goal by Minnesota. Guys, we're going into the moment we've all been waiting for. My energy's high, Brandon. How about your energy, man? You ready for this one?
No. I mean, not necessarily.
All right, man. LSU, the off-brand, I don't even want to go there. Just the LSU Tigers went up to Jordan-Hare Stadium on the plains against the Auburn Tigers. They got beat down, Brandon, 48-11. I just want to say this, Brandon. I want to start with one statement, and then I'll finish my second statement. You could take this one over. I think it's safe to say, Brandon, after 60 minutes, we know who the best Tigers in the country are, at least in the SEC. And all I got to
Clemson.
say is, war damn Eagle, baby. And how did you like that? I really wanted to say something, but I can't because we're a clean podcast and it messes up with the monetization and all that kind of stuff. But you know what I was going with that, Brandon. How'd you like that beat down? What happened to your boy TJ Finley, who everyone thought said he's like the new Cam Newton? He's trash. He's garbage. He's a bum. What you got to say, B-Dub?
I don't know. I mean, I don't feel like I ever said he was the new Cam Newton. Yeah, he had a tough game. LSU had a tough game. What I will say is that Bo Picks had the third best performance against this LSU team, and he got outplayed by Missouri and Mississippi State's quarterbacks. So I don't think you can say that they beat a good LSU team. I think they just beat a bad LSU team. So congratulations.
Listen, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. You picked LSU. You kept telling
Yeah.
me, Brent, I need you to hear. I need you to hear. I need to hear you say Gus Malzahn is better than Coach Ed Orgeron. And I need you to let the I need you to let the no. I need you to let our good listeners, these good people who tune in to get the truth from us, Brandon, about who the better team was this weekend. That's all I care about. Who was the better team when that clock hit 0 in the fourth quarter?
Well, Auburn was the better team this weekend. I don't want to hear that thing about Gus Malzahn. Let's count rings if we're gonna do that.
Yeah, Gus Malzahn has a ring from Cam Newton, who he recruited illegally as a transfer, and so does Coach O. Coach O has the same thing where he illegally recruited Joe Burrow with some BS illegal stolen crawfish. We are even there, B-Dub. We are even there.
Okay, Zach. Oh my goodness.
I need
this is ridiculous.
Everyone heard you. Bo picks this. Bo picks that. It was Bo 6 this weekend because he was getting nothing but 6 points on your piss poor defense.
I mean, I agree. About the defense statement. I will not disagree. But I'm also not going to back down here, Zach. Look, KJ Costello passed for 600 yards on this defense. Missouri's quarterback was Connor Bazelak. I don't even know his name, Zach, but he passed for 400 yards. Bo Nix got 300.
Oh man, this is tough. I mean, listen, I'm going to be honest here with you, Brandon. Bo 6, 75% of his passes beat up, 300 yards, 300 on that defense beat up, 300. Where was Derek Stingley? Where was he was getting put in the dirt by Seth Williams.
Well, except for that strip, in the end zone.
That's fine. After he just got bombed on?
That's fine. I mean, if Seth Williams can't finish, he can't finish.
Hey, it's all good. And then what happened? TJ Finley's going to throw it over Shaquille O'Neal's head for an interception.
Yeah. Well, he thought Sharif was on the field is what happened.
Brandon, 75% completion percentage, 300, 4 total touchdowns, and 81 yards rushing. You let Bo Nix have a 92.8 QBR.
Zach, okay. Whenever you're finished, I would like to turn the tide just a little bit and kind of there are some silver linings because I know that we have a strong listenership in Louisiana. I know we do. I know there's people out there hurting. So let me make it up to these people, Zach. Let me make it up to our listeners. I know you want to make this about you. That's fine. You can make it about you all you want. But let me talk to our listeners for a second. Guys,
go ahead.
I know LSU lost, but there's a couple bright sides here. I mean, Auburn's going to have Gus Malzahn as a head coach for eternity now. So that's kind of cool. That's one upside. The other upside, we got an extra hour of sleep last night. That's kind of cool. There's always a silver lining. UL won last night. No one really cares, but they won. That's fun. What else? Sage Ryan committed to LSU, 5-star, kind of nice. Bo Pelini might get fired. That's also a silver lining. He'll probably won't be till after the season, but he might get fired. What else is there, Zach? The sun came up this morning. That's always a good. It's always a good surprise. we never know if that's going to come up. I mean, the sun's down right now. I am not convinced that it's going to come up tomorrow morning, but it came up this morning, so that's a good thing. Are the Saints winning? Does anyone know if the Saints are winning right now? Oh, they're in overtime. Saints are in overtime. That's kind of a win.
And they also got in a fist fight over an eye
Well,
poke by Chauncey Gardner. You're in
well,
overtime with the
well.
Bears. It is a bad day.
The Bears are 5-2. That's respectable.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So guys, I know it, and we're in Louisiana. That's fun. You know, if you're in Louisiana right now, that's a very fun state. Education maybe not the best, uh, but the fun levels are through the roof. You know, Mardi Gras is coming around. There's still COVID, but Mardi Gras is coming in a couple months. I had gumbo yesterday. That was a win. You know, so I mean, football's a stupid sport anyway. Maybe we have basketball if the sanctions don't hit us too hard. We'll see.
I mean, hey, I'm glad you spun it for our people, but back to the beatdown at hand, B-Dub. I'm glad you got to escape there for a few minutes with Brandon, bringing y'all back to reality, all our Louisiana listeners out there. Brandon, the O-line for Auburn, I should have pulled the audio before we started recording. What did you call it against Georgia?
What the Auburn's defense?
No, Auburn's offensive line.
Oh no, I mean they're still not good. I'm not gonna say they're good.
LSU is leading the SEC in pressure rate and sacks going into this weekend, Brandon.
Thank you for saying something nice about LSU, Zach.
0 sacks and 2 quarterback pressures against Auburn, who lost their senior offensive guard this weekend.
Okay, but to be fair, Georgia's defense very good, Zach. I overreact a lot. I do. I'll say that. I mean, the people listening, they know. So yeah, I mean, if maybe people are saying that I said Auburn's O-line looked like middle schoolers that game. Maybe I did, maybe I didn't. Who knows? They're playing against Georgia. Very good defense.
Brandon, there was a matchup I said. There was a matchup on this game. I was like, whoever wins that matchup is going to win the game. Oh, it's the rushing attack. Do you want to let the good listeners know how LSU ran the ball this weekend?
Pretty poorly. They put Chris Curry in. No one really understands why.
Yeah, his Chris Curry, 3 carries for 8 yards.
Yeah.
How about John Emery, 9 carries for 21 yards? Even worse.
Well, he was on the sideline laughing, so he was having a good time.
Having a great time. I mean, they showed no ability to find space, no ability to do anything against an Auburn defense that was piss poor in the run. Ole Miss ran for like 600 last week on us.
Yeah, no, they did. We all saw it.
And how about the 206 yards, Brandon, and almost 5 yards per carry that Auburn rushed for?
I mean, well, Tank Bigsby is a very good running back. I'll say that. What's the other guy? Sean Shivers. He's just he goes head hunting, and then they have number 80, number 89, who's just 400 pounds running the ball. How do you?
That's a fact. That's a fact. Speaking of CBS, can we stop trying to give people nicknames on the spot? Because Tilt might be the worst nickname I think I've ever heard someone suggest.
Jerry Danielson. Can we do something about him? Can we stage a coup and maybe we take his job?
Guys, let us know. Would y'all rather us call the 2:30 game on CBS every week? I mean, the dude said we should call him Tilt because he tilts everything he hits. It's like my little brother could have come up with something. Like my little brother wouldn't even say that just to hope he wouldn't get bullied in school. Like that's ridiculous. I hate that nickname. But Brandon, as a team, LSU rushed the ball for 32 yards on 27 total carries for an average of 1.2 yards per carry.
Yeah. I mean, very bad. Yeah, look, LSU is not a good football team this year. They'll bounce back. They'll recover. We'll see what happens. Coach O, this is going to be the first time probably that he'll lose back-to-back games. He hasn't done that in his career. They have Alabama next, so unless a miracle happens, then I'm still gonna be having a good time. I'll be at Death Valley, and I'll maybe I'll have an extra beer for the loss. We'll see.
Who do y'all play after Alabama? What a bad fan.
Arkansas? Maybe it's Arkansas, and then
y'all might lose to Arkansas and Ole Miss.
Dude, I said that earlier. You don't have to. I mean, you can quote me if you're gonna repeat me.
I mean, Bo Nix, like I said, leading rusher. Tank Bigsby, came alive in the third quarter, 70 yards rushing, 2 touchdowns, should have had 3, taken away on a BS phantom too many
I don't
players in the
know.
backfield
I don't know
call.
about that.
They counted on the replay and said, I don't even see, like there's like 3 players in the backfield. It wasn't even 4.
Nick, I told you, LSU, they pulled some strings. They
Hey,
might have
can
played
I
the
ask
rest
you a
this weekend.
question? I'm going to ask you a
Go ahead.
serious question about this game. So with the Derek Stingley play where he stripped Seth Williams, it was clear as day Seth Williams lost the ball before he was out of bounds, correct?
Yes.
But Derek Stingley was standing out of bounds when he stripped him, correct?
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I think that, yeah.
Yeah, so when he stripped the ball and Derek Stingley touched it, shouldn't have been out at the 2-yard line and not a touchback because he was out of bounds?
No, because he didn't have possession of the ball.
I'm dead. But Brandon, I need your, before we wrap this up, we got to talk about the quarterback situation in Baton Rouge. I think it's more complicated than a high school relationship right now.
It's not.
Miles Brennan, obvious starter when he's healthy, but
Yes.
we don't know when that's going to be.
Yeah.
But Max Johnson came in and looked like the best quarterback on the between him and
really
TJ
good.
Finley. He looked really good, but a quarter of his work came against the 4th string of Auburn. So I don't know how much we can put in it, but let's talk about Finley first.
It was also LSU's 2nd string. I mean,
negative. A negative.
What?
Reed Gilbert was still in there.
Keyshawn Boutte is like wide receiver 5. And he's the one who had the 40-yard touchdown.
Yeah, it was the bad covers by Auburn there. But man, Brandon, Finley came in with all these expectations, greatly underperformed. I think I'm being nice there. I mean, 54% completion percentage, 143, 2 interceptions, a fumble lost. I don't know, man. I mean, he graded out at a 51 by Pro Football Focus, but would you have given him a 51 for the game?
No, nope.
What would your grade for Finley be?
I don't know. I don't want to be mean to Finley right now. Don't make me do that.
No, I need a number.
I will say less than 51. That's all.
Less than 50. That's yeah, so less than 51 there. I mean, but Brandon, he had no help early, and I want to get your analysis too. But for me, he had no help early on the ground. He was put all on his shoulders. That first interception, you could tell he just got nervous and sailed the ball way too high, of course, and Auburn was in zone. He threw it right into the zone where Nehemiah Pritchett took it back for almost a touchdown. But after that, he just kind of seemed to get rattled. He was shook. I mean, Auburn's strategy was simple, Brandon. It was the same strategy they had last year against LSU. We're going to put a lot of DBs on the field. We're not going to let them throw it deep. You can take all the underneath crossing routes you want, and we're just going to hit you as soon as you catch the ball. That was the strategy. Yeah. It's easy. I mean, only 7 pass attempts, 10-plus yards down the field for LSU. Well, I mean, for Finley yesterday, Brandon. I mean, he looked uncomfortable in the pocket, and when your feet are jittery and everything, you start missing targets. And I'm not saying, he had 54% completion percentage, not terrible, but Brandon, even on some of those underneath routes, if you don't hit the wide receiver right in the numbers, it really affects your yards after catch. And I think that's where LSU struggled a lot, is Finley was hitting these receivers in awkward spots and really preventing them from getting up the field.
I mean, and to be totally fair to TJ Finley, I don't want to be super fair to him because I guess this was his first road start. He's a true freshman. But he hit Terrace Marshall in his hands 2 plays in a row on the first drive of the game. And they were just drop passes. And so, I mean, if that's the way you're going to start your game, that doesn't set a really great tone for the rest of the game.
Right. It's just, I feel like LSU, Brandon, I guess you could correct me if I'm wrong, but for me, the thing that got me is they're so talented. There's no reason, there's no team in the country LSU should only be held to 11 points by, especially an Auburn team.
Right. No, and I have no excuses for the offense. The defense, you can say they're maybe running like a 1997 Bo Pelini special defense, but with offense, there's no excuses. I mean, it was just a poor performance this weekend overall.
Yeah, really bad. I mean, Max Johnson, like you said, played a lot better. A lot of his work came against second stringers, but I mean, still completed 62% of his passes, 172 a touchdown. Um, but it's just for me, Brandon, this is an indictment of Steve Emsinger. It really is. I mean, last year he didn't have too many bad games. I mean, and I think I sent you a stat. What was it on Twitter where it's such a weird stat that Auburn's the only team in like 3 years to hold LSU to under, what was it, 30 points or 20 points?
Yeah, I mean, because LSU hasn't scored less than 40 this year, and until this weekend they scored like what 11.
Yeah, and last year they didn't score less than 40 except for Auburn last year. I mean, I don't know what Kevin Steele's doing, and it bothers me. The thing that bothers me, Brandon, is Auburn used the exact same strategy that they used last year. It's
Right.
like you did not watch any film from last year.
Yeah, I mean, no, I guess not.
No, and Brandon, the thing. So from the opening snap, the thing I texted you, we texted our friend Blake. It was that Auburn came out. This is the first time all year I've seen Auburn come out and play more physical than the other team. I mean, from the
Yeah,
first play, Sean Shivers bodies Derek Stingley. And I thought Stingley was hurt at first. I was like, he looks shaken up. And then you look on the what was it, the fumble recovery where Christian Tutt picks it up, and I believe number 4 is Chris Curry, right? That's Curry.
no, Chris Curry's 18. John Emery's number 4.
John Emery's 4. John Emery goes to pick up the ball with Christian Tutt, and Christian Tutt just shoves him with one arm right on the ground. I mean, just runs straight through him. And it's like, where does that come from? Because the one thing you could say about LSU this year is they've played just as hard as the other team. And I just felt like the physicality and the toughness and the speed, it literally didn't look like an LSU team that I was expecting to come up and show out. And so I don't know what got into. I mean, for me, if LSU Auburn played 10 times in Jordan Hare, LSU would win 4 to 5 of them. It was
Jordan Hare.
Yeah, I think so, especially this year. I mean, I don't think LSU's a bad team. I felt like this was their worst performance of the year. I think it was worse than Mississippi State. I think it was worse than Missouri. I mean, from the opening snap, Brandon, their effort just wasn't there. And I know you probably saw it being a fan, and you could probably speak to it more, but I didn't see any effort or physicality from this team.
No, this is the least effort. I mean, and I'm not just speaking, from last year's perspective. I mean, this is the least effort I've seen an LSU team show ever. Like, since I can remember watching them play football, there was absolutely no effort after they went down, at halftime. After halftime, did you see any effort out of this team? I mean, first half, I guess you could argue that they were, at least, it looked like they were trying at least for a little while.
But the third quarter was bad.
It was awful. And, I don't want to come on here and give like super big props to just anybody, but I mean, Derek Stingley's dad, he came out and said that this defense just doesn't trust each other. And that's tough coming from the best player on the defense's father, saying that they don't trust each other. So I don't know. There's some kind of disconnect, and something has to give at this point.
So Bo Pelini's definitely going to lose his job at the end of the year, you think, right?
Yeah, it's not going to be mid-season. Coach O likes to wait until after the season to make coaching changes or fire anybody. So yeah.
That's tough, man. That's
CMAT Canada.
Oh, that's real fair. But guys, LSU falls to 2-3. They head into a bye week, and then they have number 2 Alabama coming to town, looking to take their heads off from last year. Brandon, have you ever seen an Alabama team play as angry as Alabama is going to play in 2 weeks?
Oh, no, especially not after LSU won last year, and then Coach O had the whole. Well, everyone knows what he said. I can't say it, but everyone knows.
Yeah, it's going to be bad.
LSU fans, for all my Louisiana people out there, Saints won, so that's silver lining.
Man, this Auburn team heads into a bye week. It's going to be headed to Mississippi in 2 weeks to face a reeling Mississippi State team in Starkville. But guys, that is a wrap on this episode today, man. It was a wild, fun, exciting weekend of college football. We will be back. Well, go ahead, man.
Oh, sorry. Nothing.
Brandon did not have a fun, exciting, full weekend of college football. He was upset after the LSU game. But, guys, we're going to be back Thursday with a preview of Week 10. Man, I can't believe it's already Week 10 of college football. So stay tuned for that. You can catch the podcast anywhere you listen, man. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Overcast, Google Podcast, wherever you listen. Go check it out. iHeartRadio. Rate, subscribe, like the podcast, download all the episodes, catch up on the Blue Bloods right here. Our social media, Instagram at _the Blue Bloods, Twitter at the __ Blue Bloods, Facebook at the Blue Bloods Pod. Follow us on there. You can find links to everything, social media posts. So follow us everywhere. YouTube, the Blue Bloods CFB podcast. Subscribe there, man. We've been killing the YouTube games. If you're listening on YouTube, we love y'all. Shout out to y'all. But guys, for right now, we're out.